Hello, my name is Sarah the History Chick 1941 and welcome to today's video. Since I am new to the wonderful world of YouTube, I thought I would do a getting to know you introduction. Who's Sarah? Who's the History Chick? What's she all about type of thing. So that's what we're going to do today. Just a little getting to know ya. Even though I have had my YouTube channel for 2 years, I'm finally diving in. I was way too scared to do a YouTube channel, but here we are. So also this video was supposed to get recorded like 3 hours ago, but instead
I took a nap. It was a very good nap.
And that is a true story. So let's dive in and welcome to the history of the History Chick 1941. I started the History Chick 1941 because my food's here. Oh my gosh. Yes, I know. McDonald's so bad. But can somebody tell me why they don't give straws anymore? Thank gosh I have my own. I started the History Chick 1941 on December 7th, 2022, not 1941. December 7th, 2022, on my main platform, which is Instagram. This is going to be a very non-formal video, so yeah. Anyways, let's get back to it. So I started the History Chick 1941 because I was somebody, a lifelong history nerd, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Lifelong history nerd. I ended up actually losing my passion for history due to life circumstances, and I started to get it back, and I realized how much I started to get all those feelings again about history and all this other stuff. And a lot of my friends, they're normies. They could care less about this stuff. So I wanted to find other history nerds out there and other history accounts and all that stuff. So I started on the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and I did a Pearl Harbor post. But also, another reason, my main specialty is World War II. So that's what I know most about. That's what I dived into most of the time. But I also was very interested in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the global war on terror, conflicts from World War II up until current events. So I also am using this as a learning experience for me, and then you guys learning it along the way with me too, and me sharing what I learned and not learned, but that's kind of where it is. So it's a two birds with one stone, I guess. I'm not going to lie, the History Chick 1941, since starting this on Instagram, which is my main platform of where it's at, has been amazing and life-changing, and the opportunities that I've had. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to share history with you guys, but let's dive in a little deeper. I don't really like talking about myself that much, so we're going to start going into the abridged version of things. Sarah, how'd you get into history? So glad you asked. It's actually kind of funny because how I got into history, I don't learn about that conflict really or have that much interest in it. I bet you I would if I started again, but I don't. Anyways, it's the Civil War. But I used to be obsessed with the Civil War. I just haven't really read up on it or anything. But in 8th grade, social studies class, Miss Lim, we learned about the Civil War. And she did a very interactive, fun way to learn about it. Very intriguing. She split the class in the North and the South. I was designated as Ulysses Grant, and we played out the Civil War, not played out, but we learned about the Civil War day by day. We did presentations on, specific battles and everything like that. It was super fun. And then at the end of that curriculum, we watched the movie Glory, and that is one of my favorite movies. I had already seen it, and the reason I had already seen it is because this is good. In 8th grade, actually starting in 7th grade, I was in the Matthew Broderick fan club. I was a huge Matthew Broderick fan. Huge. I was in his, this is back when you had fan clubs and you mailed in like little forms and you get newsletters a month and you had little chat board rooms or whatever. Yeah, I was in the Matthew Broderick fan club. So of course I loved the movie. And then this is really what kind of launched it, is that I really hope they still do this in schools because I think it's super important. It's also super interactive. It's super fun. We did an event called Walk Through History, which every 8th grader had to participate in. And so what it was is that you had to pick a historical figure that interested you. And you ended up giving a oral presentation on it. And how it was set up is that each 8th grader got their own little space, a little booth. and you decorated that booth, you set dressed it, you dressed up in costume, you did a full, I think it was like a 2-minute speech on that person or event. And so people would walk around the gymnasium and go from booth to booth to booth and learn about different people in history. Um, I know she's not real, but we were in the midst of the Civil War, and so I was very intrigued by it. I dressed up as Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind because it's one of my favorite movies. And I did my presentation on the Civil War and life as a civilian. And here's a picture right here. Look at those bangs. Oh, baby Sarah. Anyways, it's super fun. I really hope they do stuff like that in schools still because it's very important. I'm sorry, I'm talking really fast. I don't like talking about myself. And also I'm a fast talker, so. Okay, now we're gonna fast forward. You know, I'm just gonna say it. I'm not a historian. I didn't go to school for history. I'm not a history teacher. I didn't study it. I'm just very, very passionate about history. I actually went to beauty school, so for hair aesthetics and makeup, and I ended up working in the film industry where I'm located with a specific film company, and They did specifically military World War II films. So I ended up meeting a whole bunch of other history nerds, historians, collectors, reenactors, all of these amazing people. And that is where the World War II bug came in. But also, and that's who I'm pointing at, also, it made me dive a little bit more into this. And this is my Opa, my grandpa. I haven't hung this yet. I don't have a place to hang it yet. But this is Staff Sergeant Jack Levy of the 4th Armored Division, 35th Tank Battalion B Company, the Galloping Hardware. My Opa served in World War II. He is a Purple Heart recipient. But it got me learning more about my Opa and his stories because at the time that this was going on, my Opa had already passed. And when he was very, I guess, open about talking about his stories, but when he did, I was too young. I wasn't interested. I was just a kid. So that is one thing I do regret. I wish I would have, you know, listened to more stories or was more interested. But yeah, this is my Opa, and this is kind of what catapulted me into World War II, along with working in the film industry in the World War II film industry, I guess. And then that is where the military history bug started, was when I got older, working in the film industry and then learning more about my Opa. And that's where the bug caught. And I started learning everything I could about World War II, but I mainly learned about the European theater, and that's because my Opa was in the European theater. I feel like a lot of people, when you meet somebody who's very into the Pacific theater versus the European theater, and they know more about one versus the other, I feel like a lot of the times it's because somebody had a relative that served in that theater. So that's just a random thought, but that's why I got more into the ETO versus BTO, and then stuff, you know, like Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, you know, they all focus on the European front. So yeah, anyways, and that is the history of how I fell in love with history. So anyways, we're gonna try and like wrap this up. One second. Okay, so let's wrap this thing up. So just a couple, you know, other things about the History Chick 1941. One big thing that I have a huge pride in is 2 years ago I started a live series that was on Instagram called History Behind the Page, which is now going to be moving to YouTube since I grew a pair of balls and decided to start a YouTube channel. But all the episodes are here on the YouTube channel, which is why I've had my YouTube channel for 2 years, because I would upload them from Instagram to here. History Behind the Page is the live series, a live Q&A series where you get to know more about the people behind your favorite history pages, YouTubers, authors, actors, so many things. So I kind of started the series because I was curious and I wanted to know. And I knew if I wanted to know, other people would want to know, like, how'd you get into history? Kind of like what this video is. So I have been very blessed. I've had some amazing guests on. I've had JD from the History Underground, Chris from Blogging Through History. I've had Scott Grimes from Band of Brothers, Scott Gibson from the Pacific. I've had Marcus Brotherton, New York Times bestselling author. Gosh, who else? I've had a lot of people, Preston Stewart on here too as well, Sander from Sander VK History. Anyways, here's a little snippet of it.
Are you ready for this? It's time for a twist. Unexpected, a new direction. Wait and see, it's gonna be a game changer. A game changer.
It's probably gonna be my lowest viewed videos because you're like, come on, Sarah, wrap it up. So we're gonna wrap it up. But I'm just gonna tell you just a tiny bit about me personally and my likes. I am a coffee and book addict. I cannot stop buying books. My bookcases are my pride and joy, and I'll show you a little bit of them too as well. I have a lot of collectibles too and things that people have sent me from all over, history nerds from all over, which I'm very blessed. I have a weird obsession with the Ghost Army, the USS Indianapolis, the Dust-Off Cruise in Vietnam, and the Marines at Chosin. Which I know why the Dust-Off Cruise. Almost 2 years ago, I got to meet Medal of Honor recipient Major General Patrick Brady at a fundraising event for Wishes for Our Heroes in Texas. And prior to that, I was on a rabbit hole and doing a post on Instagram about him, and I had no idea he was going to be at the event. I ended up getting a picture with him. He gifted me a challenge coin. I made a complete idiot out of myself. Maybe I'll tell that story one day. Instagram's heard it so many times. And then we became, we've kept in touch, and he sent me a signed copy of his book. But anyways, the Dust-Off Cruise of Vietnam. And I'm rambling because I'm trying to wrap things up. So that's kind of about me. Also the love of my life, Lucy, which she's right here. I'll pop a picture right here too as well. But that's kind of just a little bit nerdiness about me. But what to expect from the History Chick 1941 here on YouTube. You can get a little taste of that by visiting my Instagram page. It is the same handle, the History Chick 1941. It is a lot of oral history, unsung heroes. I like to learn about stories that we don't usually hear about, or ones that you don't know about. That's not in the mainstream military history stuff. So that's kind of my jam, and that's kind of who I am, and that's how the History Chick was born, and that's why I'm here, and this is me. So I hope you like, subscribe, give a follow. Some very exciting stuff coming up. History Behind the Page Live will be on here too as well. We have some very great guests coming up, some Band of Brothers people, and yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to me babble. So thank you so much for all of your support and seeing here on YouTube. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe or whatever. I don't know. This YouTube's so foreign to me. I'm just doing like what everybody else says to do on here. So I don't know. We're figuring it out along the way. So you're on this journey with me too. We'll figure it out. But stay tuned for some awesome content. I can't wait we have some great videos coming up. History Behind the Page is coming back. I just repeated myself like 5 times. Anyways, that means it's time for me to sign off. So thank you guys so much, and we'll chat soon.